All right, diving right into Proverbs 22:6 today.
Uh-huh.
And we know you guys listening
Yeah,
are pastors and Bible study leaders.
for sure.
So we're going to skip right past those Sunday school basics,
Yeah,
get right to the good stuff, the insightful, the unique
that's right.
stuff that will really make your congregations think.
Exactly. You already know the verse.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at how different pastors have
Okay.
approached this and brought new perspectives to it.
I love it.
Those hidden gems that can bring Proverbs 22:6 to life.
I was really struck by how many pastors use the metaphor of children being like arrows.
Right.
But it's not just about aiming them in the right direction, is it?
No, it's more than that.
Okay.
It's more nuanced.
Right.
Think about like an arrow that needs to be straightened to fly true.
Yeah.
Pastor Devin Goff, he highlighted the Hebrew word Darac,
Okay.
which translates to way, but it also connects to the idea of something being bent. He argues that each child has their own unique bend, like their tendencies, their nature.
Right.
And understanding that is so crucial to guiding them well.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Right.
It's recognizing and working with each kid's individuality.
Precisely. And just as arrows need to be sharpened,
Yeah.
children need refining too.
Okay.
Name of the pastor who gave this sermon from name of the church.
Yeah. Yep.
He used this analogy to emphasize the importance of discipline,
Mm.
not as a punishment, but as a way to hone their character
Right.
and build resilience.
That's a great image.
Yeah.
Helping them develop the strength and the sharpness they need
Yes.
to navigate life.
Now, some pastors took a more intense approach,
Go.
framing Proverbs 22:6 in the context of spiritual warfare.
Okay.
Name of the pastor who gave this sermon from name of the church.
Yeah.
He spoke about equipping children, not just for,
Right.
good behavior, but
Right.
for a world that is actively opposed to their faith.
It's a powerful way to look at it, preparing them for those battles they'll inevitably face.
Yes, and it leads to a fascinating question.
Okay.
How much weight do we give to names?
Hmm.
Name of the pastor who gave this sermon from the name of the church. He suggested that names in the Bible often reflect a parent's hopes
Oh,
and can even influence a child's spiritual journey.
that's a thought-provoking idea. Are we, in a sense, shaping destinies with the names we choose?
It's definitely something to consider,
Yeah.
but we need to balance that with the understanding that Proverbs 22:6 isn't a foolproof formula.
Right. It's not a guarantee.
Several pastors acknowledge that despite our best efforts,
Yeah.
children sometimes stray.
Right.
Name of the pastor who gave this sermon from name of the church
Yeah.
reminded us that while the verse offers a guiding principle, free will and life circumstances
Sure.
also play a role.
We can guide, but ultimately it's up to each person to choose their own path.
Right.
Now, I know our listeners are always looking for
Sure.
practical sermon illustrations to connect with their congregations.
Absolutely. One pastor used the analogy of a bus driver
Okay.
to illustrate parental authority. You're in charge, you set the route, but you're also serving and caring for those on your bus.
That's a good one. That's relatable, easy to understand,
Right.
even for those that aren't deeply familiar with Scripture.
And for younger audiences, name of the pastor who gave this sermon from name of the church offered a brilliant illustration
Oh, nice.
using Toy Story 2.
Wow.
He connected Woody's dilemma of staying with Andy or going to the museum
Uh-huh.
to the concept of legacy and the choices we make that impact future generations.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's engaging, gets kids thinking about the bigger picture
Yeah.
without being preachy.
It's about finding those unexpected connections
Yeah.
that make the message stick.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit
Yeah.
and consider the historical context of Proverbs 22:6.
Okay.
Remember, this was written in a time when children weren't just cherished youngsters.
Right.
They were seen as like vital contributors to the family workforce.
Yeah.
Even a line of defense.
That adds another layer to the arrow metaphor, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It's not just about their own potential,
Yeah.
but their role in the family and society.
It was essential for survival.
Wow.
So how do we reconcile this ancient view
Yeah.
with our modern understanding of childhood?
That's a good question.
It's a question worth pondering.
It's like translating that ancient wisdom into a language that resonates today.
Precisely. And speaking of translations, one pastor pointed out that the Hebrew word often translated as train in Proverbs 22:6.
Right.
It's closer in meaning to dedicate or initiate.
So it's not just about giving
Yeah.
instructions. It's about a deeper, more spiritual process of guiding them into a way of life.
Exactly, and that ties in beautifully with the historical practice of child dedication.
Uh-huh.
Like Hannah dedicating Samuel to the Lord.
Right.
It's about entrusting our children to a higher purpose,
Yeah.
recognizing that we're not ultimately in control.
Which reminds us again that Proverbs 22:6 isn't a guarantee.
Yes,
It's a guiding principle.
it emphasizes our role in guiding and training,
Right.
but it acknowledges that each child has their own free will
For sure.
and makes their own choices.
That's a message that can be both comforting and challenging for parents.
Absolutely. It encourages us to let go of the pressure to be perfect
Yeah.
and to trust in a bigger plan even when things don't go as we expect.
It's about surrendering that need for control and embracing the mystery of each child's journey.
Beautifully put. Now, let's get practical.
Yes. Always eager for this. What are some takeaways
Uh-huh.
for our listeners, sermons and Bible studies?
One recurring theme was the vital role of fathers
Okay.
as spiritual leaders in the home.
Okay.
One pastor put it bluntly, fathers, you're the high priests of your home.
Wow.
It's your responsibility to lead your family spiritually.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah, it challenges us to step up and not just leave it to
Right.
Sunday school teachers or youth pastors.
To be actively involved in shaping the spiritual landscape of our family.
Exactly. And here's a nugget that really made me think. One pastor argued that Proverbs 22:6 isn't just about our children. It's about us, too.
Wait, what do you mean? Could you unpack that a little?
He was saying that we all need to be continuously trained up in the way we should go,
Okay.
regardless of age.
Interesting.
It's a lifelong journey of growth and transformation.
I love that it's a reminder that we're all works in progress.
Precisely. And just as we guide our children,
Yeah.
we need to seek guidance and mentorship from those further along the path.
We're all in this together.
Now, I know our listeners love a good sermon illustration.
Oh, yeah. Always bring them on.
One pastor used a cautionary tale,
Okay.
drawing a parallel between Peter Pan
Okay.
and the danger of refusing to grow up.
I see where he's going with that.
Yeah,
It's about those who cling to perpetual childhood, never embrace responsibility or maturity.
exactly. It's a reminder that childhood is a preparation for the responsibilities of adulthood,
Yeah.
and our role is to guide them toward that.
To equip them for the journey ahead, not keep them tethered to a neverland.
And here's a lighter illustration. Remember how we talked about the historical context of children being like a defense force?
The little warriors?
Well, this pastor used the movie Taken
Okay.
as an analogy for a father's protective instincts.
Okay.
You know, the one with Liam Neeson?
I will find you and I will kill you.
That's the one. He used it to illustrate the fierce love of a father
Wow.
who would do anything to protect his child, connecting it to our spiritual role as protectors.
That's brilliant, especially for dads who might not connect with the biblical stories as easily.
Right.
It taps into that primal instinct to protect and provide.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We looked at the arrow metaphor, spiritual warfare lens,
Mm.
historical context, the role of fathers.
And we've unearthed some creative sermon illustrations.
What other facets of this seemingly simple verse
Yeah.
can we explore?
That's what I'm wondering.
We haven't delved into the emotional and relational aspects of Proverbs 22:6, which are just as crucial as the theological and the practical.
It's not just about instruction.
Yeah.
It's about connection and empathy.
And that's where we'll pick up in our next segment.
Okay.
We'll explore approaching Proverbs 22:6 with a heart of compassion,
Good.
recognizing that parenting is as much about relationship as it is about guidance.
Been on quite the journey with Proverbs 22:6.
We have.
Unpacking that arrow metaphor.
Yeah.
Exploring the spiritual battlefield.
Uh-huh.
Even venturing into the world of taken dads.
That's right.
And we've done it all with our listener in mind. You know,
Yeah.
those pastors and Bible study leaders seeking fresh perspective
Absolutely.
to share with their congregations.
Sure.
But let's shift gears a little bit here and tap into the heart of it all.
Yeah.
Because Proverbs 22:6 isn't just about techniques or achieving a certain outcome.
Right.
It's about something deeper.
It's about love connection and approaching parenting with empathy.
Yeah.
Training up a child isn't about molding them into some ideal image
Right.
we have in our mind.
It's about understanding their hearts,
Yes.
recognizing their struggles, celebrating their dreams.
One pastor compared parenting to gardening.
Right.
You plant the seeds, you nurture them, provide the right environment,
Yeah.
but you can't force a plant to grow.
You can't control the pace or direction,
No.
but you can create fertile ground for it to flourish.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
And sometimes the most important thing we can do is just be present,
Yeah.
offer a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on,
Be that safe space.
a safe space to share their doubts and fears.
Because parenting is hard.
It is.
And our kids are going to face challenges.
Yes.
They're going to make mistakes,
Uh-huh.
maybe even stray from the path we envisioned for them.
That's where grace becomes so essential.
Grace for sure.
One pastor spoke about extending grace to our children just as God extends it to us.
Right, remembering that they're not perfect,
Yes,
and neither are we.
it's about loving them unconditionally. Even when they mess up,
Yeah.
being there when they fall,
Yeah.
offering forgiveness and guidance.
Because Proverbs 22:6 isn't about guarantees.
Right.
It's about planting those seeds
Yeah.
of faith,
Aw.
hope, and love.
And trusting that those seeds will bear fruit in their own time.
Yeah, that fruit might look different than we expected.
But that's the beauty of grace.
Yeah.
It allows for unexpected growth and transformation.
So as you prepare your next sermon or Bible study
Yeah.
on Proverbs 22:6, how can you connect it to those emotional and relational needs
Yes.
of your congregation?
How can you help them understand that it's not about being perfect parents,
Yeah.
but about being loving and present ones?
How can you encourage them to embrace grace
Yes.
for their children and themselves?
Because ultimately, Proverbs 22:6 is about nurturing a generation
Yeah.
that not only knows the way, but feels loved and supported as they navigate life's complexities.
That's the message that will resonate far beyond the walls of any church.
Uh,
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.